Hey guys, welcome back to an all-new episode of a pro wrestling podcast with Matt and friends. I am your host, Matt Kozakowski, and alongside me today is the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Colin Delaney. And if you don't know who Colin Delaney is, it's this Colin Delaney. Colin, how are you, my friend?
You got to remind people at this point in my life.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, well, a lot of people hated, they bashed the ECW, WWE version of ECW. And that's where you're known from, is that version of ECW. So a lot of people are like, all right, whatever. But obviously you're a legend in pro wrestling. Everybody knows who Colin Delaney is.
Well, that is where most people know me from. And I was a kid, I was like 20, 21 years old. So I love when people come up to me and they're like, you look so much different. It's like, I was 14 years ago. Like, I would be worried if I looked the same.
Right. Still long hair, skinny,
Still the same, like the mutton chops, the long hair.
Right. Dude, yeah, no, absolutely. And it's so funny because, obviously you grew in your transformation and you look incredible, number one.
Thanks,
obviously.
Man. Thank you.
So, but yeah, man, it was so funny because I remember watching it, like I was telling you before we started, like I remember watching when you debuted and everything. And I was like, man, if this dude can do it, I know I can do it one day. So you were definitely the inspiration that made me want to step foot in the ring one day. And having you on the show is such an awesome thing, man. You have no idea how stoked I am right now.
Thanks, man. It's always nice to hear. It doesn't ever get normal for me, because I do hear it sometimes at shows like, oh, you're the reason why I started or things like that. And it's not lost on me for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like I was telling you before, I like that I can be that, like guys like the 1-2-3 Kid and Mikey Whipwreck were for me. I like that I can be that for other people.
Oh, absolutely. And you definitely were for me. I remember watching it and I was telling my dad about this. I was like, so Dad, I'm interviewing Colin Delaney or chatting with Colin Delaney. I don't like to call him interviews. I'm chatting with Colin Delaney and he's like, who was that again? And I told him, because my dad's in his 60s, he's almost 70. So it's like, his mind's not always there. But I was like, he was that skinny dude from ECW, teamed up with Tommy Dreamer, turned on Tommy Dreamer to team up with Mark Henry. And he's like, did he have long hair? I was like, yeah, he did. And he's like, I know who that is.
That's the one. At one point, it's so funny because at the time, there was nothing else that looked like me, especially not on WWE. But at a point, WWE, when they would do segments with me, even if it was just a backstage thing, they would make me get in full gear because they told me I was unrecognizable when I wasn't in my gear. And I always thought that was the craziest thing. Like there's a ton of other 5'9", 150-pound kids running around backstage here, right? Like, nope.
Just me.
That's it. Like, I think I'm the most recognizable. I think half the rest of the roster, is unrecognizable without their gear. Me,
oh, absolutely.
I'm the only 150-pound kid you got.
All your other wrestlers look like they ate me.
Right. Like, oh, I could see having the bald guy who's 240. I could see needing to have him in gear, but me, like, I'm the only one like me.
Oh, absolutely. Oh man, that's awesome. But how are you feeling, Colin? I know you just wrestled Wardlow not too long ago. A couple power bombs there. So how are you feeling?
I feel okay. These beatings were easier to take when I was in my 20s. They are a bit more difficult when I'm in my 30s. I'm wearing, you probably can't see it, maybe you can. I've got some KT tape on right now because my shoulder, since that night, my shoulder's just been like popping out. I don't know why. So
oh shit. Yeah, that's not
I don't know what that is, but so yeah, I'm still a little banged up from it, honestly.
It's probably those quick power bombs, man. I mean, he's a beast for sure.
The quick power bombs, the chair shot, getting hit with a chair never gets easier. So I don't know. I just came out of that thing and I was like, I hurt everywhere. This hurts.
I think you got a score to settle with Sean Spears.
I know, right? What's this deal? I don't understand. And I've known Spears since I was a kid, because he's an Ontario guy and I'm from Rochester, New York. So even before WWE, before all this, like we used to do indie shows together when I was like 17, 18 years old. So I've known him forever, but I don't know, man. First time I was there, we teamed up and he walked out on me. Then this time he hits me with a chair. Like, I'm starting to think it's personal. I don't know, man.
I think it's that 20-year mark in the business. He just doesn't care anymore.
Is that what happens at 20? I'm at 18.
I know you're getting close, man. You're gonna start hitting people with chairs and walking out on your own partners.
And that's a 20-year mark. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was doing my research too. Obviously, I mean, I know a lot about Colin Delaney. There was some stuff that I did not know. I did not know where you trained exactly. I know you trained by what was it, Rick Matrix and Hellcat and guys like that. Was there actually a school that they ran, or was it like individual training?
No, there was a school here in Rochester. So this it was called the Kayfabe Dojo. It opened when I was like 16, and you know, guys like Dunn and Marcos, the Ring Crew Express, would come through all the time. So, and Brody Lee, me and him backyard wrestled together. So we'd known each other forever, and he was training there. He had started a little bit before me because he's quite a bit older than me. But so he was already kind of training and already kind of trained. And guys like that were running around there. My old tag partner, Jimmy Olsen, and Cloudy and Cheech would come through, and guys like that.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, you mentioned Jimmy Olsen, you teamed with him. You actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I did my research, I might be wrong. You won your first wrestling gold with Jimmy Olsen against two of your trainers. Am I right or am I wrong? I don't want to get.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Okay.
Dunn and Marcos. Yeah, me and Jimmy. So I was basically, all I ever wanted to do was be a wrestler. You know, even though I was not very big and even though I was really young when I started, it was all I wanted to do. You know, I started going to local independent shows when I was like 12, 13 years old, and offering to help set up and tear down and, you know, setting up rings, taking down rings, doing whatever I could to help out. I started ring announcing and doing commentary at like 14, 15 years old because I just wanted to be a part of wrestling.
Oh,
so when I started training, Jimmy, who was the same age as me, he started at 14. So he had already been kind of wrestling locally a little bit, and he had a tag partner, but that tag partner was going to stop wrestling. So I was basically trained to be his partner, you know, right from the start. That's what my role was. So I was kind of trained right into that, but it worked out for me. I like to tag team wrestle. It's something that I enjoy. So, and I think it all does come back to the fact that that's how I was trained. I was trained to do that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think you're absolutely great at it. Infinity and Beyond is one of my favorite tag teams for sure.
Thanks.
But we're definitely going to get into that in a little bit. Being in that kayfabe tag team, because you guys were known as the Olsen brothers and the Olsen twins at one point too. What was it like to be a kayfabe twin?
The funny part is we don't look anything alike. We actually look more alike now than we did when we were twins back in the early 2000s. But people would still like all the time. People would be like, "And your brother?" Or, "Oh, I know you're not really brothers, you're cousins." It's like, no, we're not related. We're just a couple dudes who got paired together and teamed up. I don't know what makes you think that we're actually like, other than the fact that we tell you that we are, but it's wrestling, like it's a character, right?
Was it mostly adults that asked that too?
Oh yeah, all the time.
That's awesome. Like when I was a kid, dude, like I shit you not, when I was a kid, I first started watching Bad Blood 2003. That was the first show I ever watched. I was 12, I think, and I didn't know like kayfabe and stuff like that. I just got into it, and when they said that the Dudley boys were brothers, I believed it. Like I was like, okay, maybe he's actually adopted. Maybe they were actually like whatever, you know. And obviously later as time goes on, you're like, why did I think that, you know? But it's crazy because kids could ask that and it's fine, but you see adults ask those questions and you're like, come on, dude, really? Like, no,
grown people. And I mean, the internet was around and you could look things up, not like it is today. Like you can find anything on the internet nowadays. So it's a lot easier, a lot tougher to get something like that past the goalie now. But back then, yeah, people would ask all the time.
That's insane. That's insane. People, obviously thought you guys looked alike. Hey man, it worked. I mean,
we're just a couple kids.
it definitely worked. You got signed by WWE not too long after you started wrestling, early 20s, 2021, around there, 2007. How long was the original contract that you signed? Was it only for a year or was it supposed to be longer?
3 years. That was standard back then. They put everyone on 3-year deals.
Gotcha.
But the way, I mean, and there's a lot of talk about this now with all that's going on with them. But essentially they can release you for any reason at any time. It's kind of how those things are written.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I kind of knew that when I signed it. Like I didn't think I was going to get released 8 months in to my contract, but when I signed it, you go in basically knowing, if you read it, it essentially tells you that if they want to release you, they can. And that is what it is.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. I mean, did they give you that valid reason, like, hey, why they wanted to let you go? Or like, was it just kind of like, hey, man, we got nothing for you?
It's the same reason they give everybody, or at least what they were giving everybody this reason back then. Creatively, we have nothing for you. That's like the line, because I'm pretty sure the way the contract is written, that's a valid reason to like release you. Basically, that's legally a valid reason. So that's the line they say. I don't know. I think that essentially, Johnny Ace didn't want to hire me in the first place. I think he thought that I would just kind of do my thing and then it would be done and I would go home and it would be over with. But it kept going and it kept going well. So eventually they kind of had to sign me. They had already put me on TV and featured me 4 weeks in a row, 5 weeks in a row before they signed me.
Oh,
so
sure.
They kind of backed themselves into a corner on signing me. And then it was just one of those deals where back then they would just release big clumps of people. And I guess I was low man on the totem pole. I don't, like I said, I don't think Johnny wanted to sign me in the first place. So when it came time to release people, my name was probably pretty high on his list of guys to get rid of.
Oh yeah, for sure. Hey man, you got an action figure out of the deal, so that worked.
I did. It was a lovely parting gift because it came out like I got released in August and it came out like later that year.
Do you still have your figure?
I do. I didn't have one for quite a while. I had some when they first came out and I would like sell them at shows and autograph them and whatever. And Dalton Castle is a good friend of mine. We went to kindergarten together in first grade and we trained together and we used to live together. And he found out that I didn't have one of my own action figures. So he bought me one for Christmas one year.
That's awesome. Dalton's awesome, man.
He's the man. And also my buddy Pablo over in the UK who runs a podcast, he sent me the chase of my figure, which is crazy.
I didn't know they had a chase. I just know I just knew the original.
Yeah, there's a chase of the figure that comes with like a metal ECW title, like a painted like metal one as opposed to the plastic one my figure comes with.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I did not know that. I just knew there was the one. I'll have to research that one. I've never
it's
seen
it. It's pricey. Even the regular one's pricey now. Like,
oh yeah,
it's like $100 on eBay or something crazy.
Well, like I said, man, you're a legend. So I mean, obviously, shit, dude. I don't spend a shit ton on figures, but there was only a couple that I've spent over $100 on, which was like, so I only collect like WWE Elite figures.
Okay.
And the Rob Van Dam one that they originally had out years ago, because I didn't know they were making a new one. I was like, all right, well, there's only one out there. They never made another one. I don't think they're ever going to until just recently. And I spent like $140 on the figure, and it's still in my box and everything. And I'm like, man, now that I think about it, I could have easily saved $120 because I could have waited. And this one now is a lot cooler. It has that cheetah tiger print, whatever.
I know. I was going to say the tiger print one is coming out, and I think there's an alternate version too, right? There's a chase of that.
I think so. Yeah. But yeah, I spent a lot on them. And then Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, I bought theirs at like a combined It was like 160, and it was right after they got released. So I was like, dude, I feel like because there's only one of them, it's going to keep going up. And if I don't buy it today, I'm screwed. So
Right.
I bought it. And then I think the last one that I bought that was like ridiculously high was the combo of Rikishi and Scotty 2 Hotty. Like the person was selling them together. And it was like he was selling them for like 200. And I bought them for like 165 or 170. I got him to take like some money off of it. But I'm like, man, if I didn't love these wrestlers growing up, I would not have bought them. Like, I stopped collecting like the Ruthless Aggression and stuff like that. I got rid of all those because I had them when I was a kid. I love the detail print on these Elite figures. I actually started my own side collection of the Street Profits.
Okay.
I don't know. I absolutely love them. So I was like, I got to do my own side collection of something, but dude, these figures nowadays, especially if there's only one, insanely pricey.
Yeah. No, I run a toy store. So
really?
I am familiar.
So what kind of, you just sell like pretty much anything, or you sell like mainly like wrestling stuff, or?
So we do the wrestling stuff. We get all the new Elites, all the basics, all the battle packs, all that stuff, all the new stuff that's coming out. We get the AEW figures. We sell a lot of Funkos, Marvel Legends, DC figures, like a toy store.
That's pretty cool. Do you have any old Elites or just like the newer stuff?
No, we've got some old Elites. Yeah, we because we take trade-ins and we buy collections and stuff here. So we got all kinds of crazy stuff.
I'll have to definitely shoot you a message because there's two I'm looking out for, and I don't want to say it on here because I'm like,
all right,
I don't want anybody else to message you and be like, hey, I want those first. So
let me know.
I gotta wait. But yeah, I mean, we just talked about it a little bit ago. You teamed up with Tommy Dreamer a little bit. You had that mindset of somebody who's a legend in the business already as well, to kind of team up with. How was that experience, and how was it turning on him to team up with like Mark Henry and Tony Atlas?
So teaming with Tommy was awesome. He was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. I loved Tommy Dreamer. I loved Mikey Whipwreck. And the fact that I was like the new Mikey Whipwreck and teaming with Tommy Dreamer was crazy to me. Like when I first met Mick Foley, he was like, oh, you guys are like the new Cactus and Mikey. And I was like, man, what a cool thing to even hear from somebody like that, So that was awesome. And Tommy was always looking out for me because I literally, I stumbled into the gig and I didn't know what I was doing. I was just smile on my face, happy to be there every week. So Tommy really helped me in a lot of ways, like navigate things there. And then turning on him it felt like just a finish for a pay-per-view match. It didn't seem like they really had any idea after that. But I thought we were making it work. I thought the thing with Mark was a little whatever, but I thought with what I was doing, I was pretty much nailing it how they wanted it. I was kind of excited to see where I could take it. But like I said, once cuts came around, it was like nothing I can do. Right. I don't feel like it was my fault, or I don't feel like I wasn't doing what they wanted from me. Like I wrestled Tommy in an Extreme Rules match on ECW on Tuesday and I got fired on a Friday. Like it's not like I wasn't doing what I needed to do and was supposed to do and doing it well. It was just my time, I guess.
That's a bummer, man, because like I said, man, like I think you inspired a lot of people. Like you said, people come up to you and said you inspired them and stuff like that. And to see stuff like that happen is really sad, especially now. Like in the last 2 years, man, 2020, all the releases and everything. Like, a lot of people shit on WWE about it. And I get it, man. It's rough and everything like that. And it breaks my heart every time I see one of my favorites get released or something like that. Like my depression hits and I'm like, well, this sucks. And I watch it and I don't think it's fully just WWE's like, hey, screw you. I think it's just more of they're going a different route with business and they're trying to change their whole thing. I mean, the whole NXT thing, they just got rid of Regal and Joe and stuff like that. And people are bashing WWE and I get it. It's heartbreaking. It really, truly is. But if you watch the elevation of NXT and how it's trying to evolve, they're trying to go in a different complete route. And you know, I see both sides, obviously, you know, we're not there. We don't know exactly what's going on, you know, so it's very heartbreaking. And to hear that, you know, especially having a 3-year contract, you know, to hear that you got let go within less than a year, that really sucks, especially with the whole, you know, creatively, we just got nothing for you.
Yeah, I don't know. Currently, I also see both sides. I do, but as an independent wrestler who has been working at this for almost 20 years, to know that essentially the way WWE is going completely closes the door on guys like me nowadays is heartbreaking. And not just for me specifically, but for everybody. Like, to think that, you know, that's how wrestling used to work. You know, you would work hard, you would bust your ass on the independents or wherever, and then eventually you make a name, and then you get to like a WWE, and then yada yada yada. But like, since forever, you know.
Yeah.
Even back in the day, like guys like Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, like they worked and they busted their ass on all these different places to eventually get to WWE. Guys like Edge, guys like you know, like Eddie Guerrero, guys like all these guys. That's how they did it. They busted their ass, and then they made a name, and then they made it to WWE, and the rest is history. The fact that they're removing that way to get to WWE, and like to be successful with them, it's disheartening, honestly.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if the times were different, obviously, and WWE came and said, "Hey, we would like to offer you another contract," knowing what you happened to you in the past, would you consider it, or would you be like, you know, think I'm going to take my chances and go somewhere else if possible?
I mean, that's super circumstantial, I guess. I mean, guys who would say that they wouldn't, I mean, that seems a bit disingenuous. It would depend on the circumstance and the situation and all that. I mean, a couple of years ago, I did some stuff for them on 205 Live, and I did think I was going to get a deal again, and it just never materialized. But you know, if circumstances were right, of course. I mean, the end game of all this, and working so hard, and staying around, and trying to do it, is because I love it, but also to be able to, you know, provide a life for myself and my family through wrestling, through the thing that I love, you know?
Oh, for sure.
So to say that you wouldn't do it, I don't know. It depends on if you were walking into a knowing it was a bad situation for you personally, yeah, you don't do it. But I think that's anything in life.
I think everything's a chance for sure. You just mentioned 205 Live, though. You had a spot with James Ellsworth, who a lot of people, obviously, a decade later, looked at as a younger or a different version of Colin Delaney, who was the underdog, everything like that. You had this spot backstage with him where you looked at him, and you're like, you said something like, "Am I right?" or something like that, and he goes, "We're not on the same level," or some shit like that. What was that experience like to you, to be back there with somebody that people looked at as the same, you know, situation as a Colin Delaney?
So I was there doing 205 Live, and they had mentioned to me that they wanted to do something with me and Ellsworth. I was like, okay, cool. And they told me what they wanted to do, and it was like a little backstage thing where we kind of like run into each other in the hallway, and there's a little back and forth. And I said to the one guy, I kind of think it would be funnier if it just was us in the trainer's room and we almost don't say anything at all. You know, It's just the two of us all like getting taped up at the same time or something like that from both being beat up. I thought that was more entertaining than us having like some kind of backstage banter. So that's actually what they went with. They went with my idea. And then I think I said, I know how you feel. And he was like, no, you don't, and walked away, or something silly like that. But there was going to be, I liked it with no dialogue. I liked it like in on me. I'm really banged up and hurt. And then it zooms out and there's Ellsworth and me, and we're both beat up. And then like, I thought I'd just give him like a nod, and he like and like blows out. But yeah, I mean, it was funny. I feel like it needed to happen. It was at that point with both of us being there in that moment, like, why not?
Oh, I thought it was awesome, man. I remember I was watching it with my ex-fiance. We were watching on the couch. I was watching 205. I'm like, that's fucking Colin Delaney. And then I watched the exclusive on YouTube and I'm like, dude, this is perfect. Like, just both right there. Awesome. I thought it was great. I did not know you came up with that though. That's awesome. That's
It was so weird because I was there the week before. I went to Raw and SmackDown to, show my face and do extra work and see if something would come of it. And they put me against the Bludgeon Brothers, and they weren't going to acknowledge like who I was, which I thought was very bizarre because I did work for the company for about a year and was like a contracted wrestler with them. So the fact that they were essentially not going to even reference who I was or that I was ever employed seemed strange to me. And then after the match went well, they came over and they were like, oh, hey, we want to talk to you about how you're back and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then they called me and brought me back for the next week to do the thing with Kenta. And that's where the Ellsworth thing happened. But yeah, I just thought it was so interesting. They were like, no, we'll just have you go out there and get beat up and we won't really mention it.
That's insane. Yeah. I know me for, like I said, for a fact, I sat there and I'm like, I fucking know that guy. So as a fan, I was stoked to see you there.
It's so interesting because like, yeah, they were like, yeah, no, we're not going to mention it or reference it. But then other things would happen and they'd be like, no, that's Colin Delaney. People will recognize him. And it's like, well, right. People will recognize, even if they don't recognize me, they'll recognize the name.
Yes.
Like, so I don't know how you can just gloss over it and act like it's not happening. That seems bizarre.
Oh, absolutely. I like, if I didn't know like who you were by the name, if it didn't show the name, I would have been like, yo, he looks familiar, but I can't really place it. But it said Colin. And I'm like, I know him. I know Colin. So it was cool because obviously you've transformed over the years. You got facial hair now, shorter hair, not long anymore.
I grew up.
You grew up. Yes.
I was a kid, man. I don't know.
Absolutely. Now I was reading, I never got to watch it because it wasn't on YouTube, but I read that you fought Spike Dudley, another underdog. How was that match for you? I never got to watch it. I never got to see it, but knowing how good Spike is, knowing how good you are, it had to be fun for you for sure. What was that like?
It was good. It was I've always been a big Spike fan and I knew Spike a bit before WWE. So then when I came off of WWE, it seemed like a natural pairing, me and Spike. So yeah, we had a wild brawl around Watertown, New York. I think he threw me down a set of bleachers. It was wild, but it was fun. Yeah, I mean, I've always looked up to Spike. Spike's he's another one of those guys like Mikey and like the 1-2-3 kid, like Spike Dudley's right there. He's like, he's another guy who a lot of guys my age, my size would look at and go, if that guy can do it, so can I. And he had potentially one of the most successful runs out of all the smaller undersized guys, because he had that cool WWE run where he was like cruiserweight champ and he was like bossing around the Dudleys. Yes. And he had that cool run, and he Spike super underrated and super, like, I think underappreciated when it comes to smaller undersized guys.
Oh yeah, the Dudley Dog is probably one of my favorite wrestling moves of all time. It's so simple to do, but it's so fun to watch, man. It really was. I wish more wrestling games would input it, because that would be one of my finishers for one of my guys for sure. It was cool. I love the whole boss thing when Spike did the whole I'm bossing the Dudleys who are 3 times bigger than me around. Like, the whole thing was awesome. I think Spike, like you said, is very, very underrated as a pro wrestler in general, as far as even not just like the smaller guys, just in general. Very,
Sure.
very talented for sure. There is one spot I've always wanted to talk to you about, and it's something that I watch all the time. I think it's fucking hilarious. You had this comedy spot with Colt Cabana in a 10-man tag match. Now, it was like you guys were running the ropes and he stopped you in the middle and he told you to look up and he slapped you. You tried to do it too. What was it like to try to do that spot? Was that like in the moment type thing, or did you guys rehearse that or talk about it beforehand? Do you even know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. So the stop look up spot is that's like it's been done. It's an old like kind of haha spot that's been done before. Okay. So we were trying to do like the same, it's taking one of those things and trying to make it a little bit different. That's not even the craziest part about that match. That 10-man tag, it was in like New Hampshire, and it breaks down into like a full-on imaginary baseball game where I'm hanging upside down in the corner and I'm home plate and get like drop kicked by like 4 guys sliding into home. Seriously, if you ever get a chance, look that full match up. The stop look up spot is just a small piece of a match that gets completely out of control. It's a lot of fun.
So you were the punching bag in that match, huh?
A little bit, yeah. It's I don't know if you ever watched or if you watched a lot of Chikara, but especially in that era of it, there's a lot of goofy, funny things, and it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody, but if you get a chance, that match in general, the whole thing is nuts.
Oh, absolutely. And dude, Chikara was a lot of fun. The Chuck Taylor with the grenade, all that, dude, it was always fun to watch. But yeah, I was watching that spot and he's like, well, what if I tell you, you're like, what if I tell you to look up? He's like, well, I'm just going to slap you again. You're like, but what? And he's like, I'm going to slap you. I was like, dude, that's the best.
Colt's always been the best at like that kind of stuff. He's got that comedic timing that, it always works for him.
Absolutely. And well, he does the whole, I think, doesn't he do stand up? I think he does stand up. If I'm not mistaken.
He does a little bit of stand up, and his podcast, of course, had a degree of humor to it. Yeah. So
he did those YouTube skits too. Those creative has nothing for you, and those were always a lot of fun.
He's always been a funny guy. So spots like that, they work best with a guy like him.
Oh, absolutely. Now you've had a couple matches in AEW. We talked about that a little bit ago, earlier on, with the whole Wardlow, Sean Spears, all that stuff. What is the atmosphere like compared from AEW to WWE? What was it like working with AEW?
So it's interesting because they both have that big arena feel and the big show feel, and the layout and locker rooms and the, running in big arenas has that same feel to it, but it's so much different because in AEW, like most of these guys are guys who I came up with and grew up with and have wrestled a million times. So it's not the same in the sense that with WWE, you're constantly just like, I guess, to a degree, trying to stay out of the way, trying to just like stay in your own lane and just do what you got to do. But in AEW, it's a bit more chill, a bit more laid back. And I think that for me, at least, comes because I know all these guys and I've been around these guys forever. And a lot of these guys are my friends. Yeah. So it's a bit different in that aspect. It's kind of like, it's like if you mixed the coolest indie show you've ever been on with a giant WWE production, so the locker room's more laid back and chill and these guys, doing what they do. And then the giant machine production that is putting out a worldwide television product. So it's cool. It's cool. I like being there. Every time I'm there, I feel like I'm part of the team and I'm part of the crew. So Tony Khan is super, super cool. He's just like a big wrestling fan. The first time I met him, I remember him coming up to me and being like, oh my God, I was such a big fan of your stuff on ECW. And I was like, this is crazy. This guy, he owns this company, like Vince McMahon isn't walking through the locker room telling anybody that he knows who they are and likes their stuff, So the fact that this guy, is just a big wrestling fan and knows what's going on and knows who people are is super awesome to see and be around. And, you know, he's got this energy that makes everyone like hyped up, you know. It's definitely different.
I tweeted this the other day and I said, the reason I like AEW, and it's funny because up until All Out of last year, I was not a fan of AEW's main product. I love Dark, I love Elevation, and I love the Factories showcases and the Nightmare or Rhodes Wrestling Academy showcase. I love them. I didn't like the main show, and I thought it was just because there was a lot of digs at WWE on their programming that I wasn't a big fan of. You know, when I'm watching wrestling, I want to enjoy their product, not them focus on somebody else's. But I was watching it the other day, and I was like, you know why I like AEW now? It reminds me so much of PWG. Like if PWG did like a live weekly show, this is AEW. So
sure,
I was.
Yeah, to a degree. Yeah. I think a lot of people also like the way AEW sets things up and the way AEW runs things and runs programs. It actually does feel more like wrestling to me. A lot of people, they don't like how AEW books things and runs things, but I think it's because they're trained that the WWE way is the pro wrestling way, but that's not true. The pro wrestling way is very different from the WWE way, but WWE is just what we've all known for so long. So the way they do things is what we all relate to being pro wrestling. But the way AEW does things is way more classically pro wrestling than WWE, for sure.
Oh yeah, no, wrestling alone, like I was a fan of, let's put it this way, AEW before All Out, I was a fan of their wrestling, their matches, they're fun. A couple things I did not like was like some stuff that they're selling. Like there was a 6-man tag I watched, and this was probably about 2 years ago, like right when it started. And everybody was throwing super kicks and they were getting up like in 2 seconds. Like I'm like, yeah, if you get super kicks, stay down a little longer. Like, you know,
it's been a wrestling thing for a while now, though. It's not just AEW. Like I've done plenty of independent wrestling shows where it's just a super kick is more common than a headlock. It's just kind of the way wrestling is gone. I don't necessarily like. It's tough to like. Yeah, I get that's not everyone's cup of tea, but I don't like when guys like. Every sport has evolved over the years. Every sport, literally every sport. But the people who just want wrestling to stay the same as it always was, it's like I become guilty of it sometimes too, where I'll see something, I'm like, that doesn't, and then I have to like roll it back into my own brain and be like, quit being a fucking old guy and like understand, you know what I'm saying? That everything has to evolve, everything has to change. Like I'm sure there's basketball guys out there who hate the 3-point line. And you know, like I don't want to be that guy. And I hate when I hear like, you know, the Jim Cornettes of the world and the like-minded people who just can't. It's fine to have that opinion, but they can't understand that like,
oh, for sure,
things need to change and evolve, and that's life, that's everything.
Oh, absolutely. And now that you put it that way, like obviously, like I'm an open-minded person, so I'll take that and I'll be like, you know what, I think he's 100% right. Like I've watched wrestling since 2003, and I've been a fan of a certain aspect of it, and I never looked at it like, you know, obviously things do change, you know, time changes and stuff like that. I mean, look at what the years did to you, man. They changed you. They made you even way better than you were, you know.
Sure.
But yeah, obviously I need to look at that way more. Like I said, I mean, I'm still a fan of AEW now. All Out completely changed the way I looked at it. And I became a huge fan. I mean, I'm a big fan of Kyle O'Reilly, so I'll watch him wherever he fucking goes.
Kyle O'Reilly is one of the best wrestlers on the planet. He's always in like groups and stuff, and you know, teams and whatever, but anytime he has that chance to shine, he does. He is since, I mean, for years I've been saying it, when he was doing like think he was in a Best of the Super Juniors for New Japan. His stuff in that Super Junior tournament was insane, like insane. He's you know, people will rag on AEW like, oh, they're just picking up all these guys. It's like, yeah, if a guy like, I don't care if you have a roster of 7,000 people and you have zero space for even one more human. If Kyle O'Reilly becomes available, you have 7,001 people on your roster now because he's so good. What are you gonna do? You're gonna say no? No, I don't want Kyle O'Reilly. No. Yeah. Oh, we have enough guys already. Why do we need one of the best wrestlers walking the planet? Come on.
You'll make space for Kyle. Kyle's just that damn good, man. I'll never rag on him, dude. I had Davey Richards on the show one time, and we were talking about the tag match that they had. It was Eddie Edwards and Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly and Davey Richards. And that is the moment I knew how damn good Kyle O'Reilly was just on his own or with anybody. Like, you know, you could put him in any situation and he's going to make it magical. Kyle,
Eddie Edwards also one of the best professional wrestlers who walks on the planet.
Oh, yes.
Like incredibly underrated. He was, you know, Davey gets a lot of the praise in the Wolves, but I think even Davey will tell you that Eddie is like unbelievably talented. I watched Eddie Edwards wrestle a guy in like one of his last matches, some like older time dude who I'm not, you know, not trying to knock the dude, but didn't look like much, just like an older guy who had been wrestling in the area for a while. Wrestled the dude for like 30 minutes in like an incredible like balls out match. And after watching the match, I was like, oh yeah, that's Eddie Edwards might be the best wrestler walking the planet. Like,
oh yeah,
that's it. He
oh dude, I will shit you not. If you want to talk about heart and soul of Impact Wrestling or the main star of Impact Wrestling, it's Eddie fucking Edwards.
It's great to see him get like, you know, all that he's done in Impact. It stinks that people don't I don't know. I feel like people, especially now with AEW around, people kind of don't think of Impact as, you know, it's there, but it's not thought of like WWE or AEW. So a guy like Eddie Edwards doesn't get his just due.
Oh, for sure. And dude, I'll tell people this all the time. I love pro wrestling, whatever it is. I don't care what it is. It's pro wrestling and it's a good match. I love it. I've never turned my back on Impact, just like I've never turned my back on WWE. Even in bad times, I never turned my back on their products because I knew that eventually it would get good again and it'd be fun again. Impact Slammiversary 2020, as soon as the Motor City Machine Guns music hit, I knew there was a change in the whole atmosphere. And I was like, dude, this is going to be the show again. And ever since then, man, the train just kept rolling and they just kept putting out match after match that just people keep talking about. I mean, you have so much Hard to Kill last night. Absolutely was insane. The whole thing was insane.
I didn't catch it. I saw some things on Twitter. I'll have to go back and watch it. But I think they came out of the pandemic they went into the pandemic in one way and came out of it much better. Whereas a lot of people can't say that.
No, for sure.
They wrestling through the pandemic was bad. It was tough. Everyone was struggling. You know, Ring of Honor essentially basically folded because of it.
Yeah.
I mean, whether that's totally true or not, but they didn't run a whole lot during it. And they couldn't really figure out how to navigate it. But Impact did and put on meaningful matches and cool stuff that people wanted to see and kind of kept their train moving forwards, whereas a lot of people kind of stayed the same or just tried to get through it.
Oh, yeah. And you watched so many people evolve during that pandemic in Impact Wrestling in general. Eddie Edwards he came into his own, man. Just something about him, everything about him just changed. And he just drew your attention to the screen. Anything he did with
for sure
talking to Kendo Stick to just everything he's doing, man. I will shit you not. Eddie Edwards is one of my favorite professional wrestlers of all time. I will say Davey Richards and JT Dunn are my number one
Okay.
On the indies. I have so much respect for JT. Shout out to JT. He actually is the reason I'm 6 months sober.
Hey, there you go.
Just his inspiration and everything alone, just awesome. And then obviously Davey's dedication to the pro wrestling business is just, it's one of those things that are untouchable. Dude is just fantastic with everything he does. But Eddie
and JT teamed together at some kind of like rock music fest in somewhere near Syracuse. And it was me and JT against Sean Carr and X-Pac in like the main event of this thing. Every time we see, we always reference it anytime we see each other. I just ran into him in Orlando for AEW a couple weeks ago. Yeah. We went out. We called ourselves the Juicy Cutes. That's our unofficial tag name that nobody ever says. But
I love it, dude. That's absolutely awesome. I'm gonna have to create you guys in the next WWE video game. I mean, just Juicy Cutes.
Juicy Cutes, man. That's us.
I love it, man. That's absolutely awesome. Yeah, no, but dude, Eddie Edwards, man, I can't say enough good things about Eddie. Just
one of my favorite matches I've ever had is with Eddie Edwards. He's he's insanely talented, insanely talented.
And like you said, man, I don't think I could have said it better myself. He was the second one that everybody looked at in the Wolves. They always looked at Davey as the top. And both are completely different, man. Both are completely different. And they were equals for sure.
That's why the team worked.
Oh, for sure. Now there is something I want to talk to you about because I just found out about this. I did not know about this 100%. You created the baseball sliding German suplex.
Yeah, I did.
How did you do that? Because it's one of my favorite moves. I absolutely love it. I think a lot of people look at it and see it on TV and stuff, and they're like, yeah, I wonder who created that. And I don't think a lot of people know that Colin Delaney is the one that made that move famous. So tell us how you came up with that move. Tell us what was it like to try to do that for the first time?
So it was something I was just workshopping at the local wrestling school, and I was kind of messing around with it. I think I was going to try and do a baseball slide DDT with the guy hanging, which turned out to be a bit more difficult than I thought. So then I was like, what if the guy's backwards? And then I ran to it and I was like, oh, okay, this might have some legs. So I worked that out, and it works, and it's effective, and it's cool looking. And then I think it was Trent Beretta, who's a good friend of mine. He did it against Kenny Omega on New Japan. And on the same night, John Morrison did it on Impact. And everyone was like buzzing about it on the internet. And Trent tweeted out, I actually stole it from Colin Delaney. We all actually stole it from Colin Delaney. I'm sorry, I betrayed you. And then like Mick Foley sent me a DM and was like, you created that move? That's super cool. So, and even like recently, I think it was last year, Nakamura started doing it.
Yes.
And somebody tweeted that he took it from Ishimori, or someone asked him where he got it, and he said Ishimori, and someone told him that I invented it. So he tweeted at me and was like, respect. So it's kind of cool getting recognized as the one who invented a move, because everything's been done in wrestling, and I like to try and take things and make them my own. I'm not big on doing things that I see other people do. I like to try and make everything my own to a degree. So to have created a move that other people seem to really enjoy is cool. It's cool.
Oh, dude, there's another move that you hit, and I was watching it again yesterday just to kind of remember. It was against Jay Freddy in Ring of Honor. It was that hop over DDT you did to finish the match. Now, did you create that, or did you get that from somebody else? Because that is probably one of my favorite versions of a DDT I've ever fucking seen.
No, that's a me thing too. I just like I said, I just always try to come up with different ways to get into moves that I like. and moves that I've seen before. Being a smaller guy, it takes more thought and effort because I can't just power bomb a guy. I physically can't. So I have to.
No, you're the guy that gets power bombed.
Right. So I have to come up with different ways to hurt my opponent. Different ways I can do these moves that maybe I like a German suplex, like the baseball sliding one I can do on anybody because they're in the ropes and I slide under and pull them down. I can't just get behind anybody and herk them over my head for a German suplex. I can't. Yeah. So sometimes you got to get creative with how you do these moves and the way you perform them. So they're your own and people will identify them with you, and B, so it makes sense and so you can do them to everybody.
Oh, absolutely. I watched that. I remember when I first watched it because I think it came out like a little over a year ago, around a year or whatever like that. It was a Future Stars of Honor match or something. And I was watching it and I was like, dude, that is probably one of the coolest versions of a DDT I've ever seen. And of course it's Colin Delaney, so it's awesome. But yeah, I watched it. I loved it.
It's a good one. And I like doing it. It's my first appearance at AEW, when I wrestled the Best Friends, I gave it to Trent because Trent also a big fan of that move.
yeah. It's really cool, man. I enjoy it. And your innovation is so different. It's really fun to watch.
If Trent didn't steal my baseball slide German, he probably would have stolen the up and over DDT.
Yeah, one of the two. I mean, dude, Trent's DDT, the tornado DDT he hits, is so fluid. Like when he was in WWE and he would hit it all the time, it was like the Dude Buster DDT or something like that. That I loved it. There was something about just the way he hit it. It was just so smooth, and Trent has always been one of my favorite wrestlers too, as well. It's funny. I became really good friends with Kalen Croft, his former WWE tag team partner. I talk to Chris all the time. He's actually, it's funny because we actually share a Peacock account. We were talking one day and I posted about the MacGruber series being on Peacock, and he's like, yo, the MacGruber series, there's a MacGruber series. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, it's on Peacock if you want to watch it. He's like, I got to get Peacock. I'm like, dude, just use my account. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, dude, I don't care. He's like, dude, you're the best. I'm like, you're the best. I fucking love you, man.
That's funny.
But dude, Chris is just such a nice, genuine person. I don't know if you ever got a chance to chat with him or talk to him, but
no, I don't think we've ever crossed paths.
Such an awesome dude. But I talk to him all the time. I'm like, dude, the Dude Busters, so damn underrated. I thought they were so fun. And then I don't know, I got hooked with Trent, and I followed Trent everywhere he's gone since.
He's so good.
He's so damn good, dude. And
he's got to stop getting hurt.
Yes. I mean, dude, he came back with no hair now. So, I mean, different. But I've always been a fan, man. I was so bummed when he got released, but watching him do his thing and being a part of Best Friends has been always fun. And people are talking about how they kind of sense he's going to break away. Trent deserves a singles run. I think Trent is that damn good that he deserves it. Now there's one more match I want to talk about, and then I want to get into Infinity Beyond really quick. There was a match I watched 12. So we've been out.
All right.
It'll be quick. I promise.
I was going to say.
Yeah. A match against Cedric Alexander. I watched that. It was against on AIW. There was a spot that you hit where it was you guys AIW. There it is. I love it. There was a spot that you guys hit where he was trapped or like by the barricade, and you ran around slapping the fans high five and did like a forearm. What was that experience trying to plan that out? Was it just kind of like heat in the moment type thing as well, or was that just kind of like something you guys planned to do?
That's an old AR Fox spot. I think everyone got it from Fox. Everyone started doing it. It was a hot spot for a minute. And then it was like, you try and figure out how to do that same spot. But like everything else, you try and put a little twist on it.
For sure.
And this is Cedric, like, I think it was not long before Cruiserweight Classic and not long before 205 Live started and all that stuff. He went from, because you see him in that match and he looks good, but man, I think it was not too long after that the Cruiserweight Classic happened, and he looked incredible in that Cruiserweight Classic. Yes. Like he transformed his body in a short amount of time for that opportunity. So it's so cool that because he wasn't supposed to be featured in that Cruiserweight Classic. He just went out there and balled out, and he transformed his body, and he got himself that opportunity by going out there and doing it. And I love that. Cedric's awesome. He's always been awesome. He's always been so good.
I got my Hurt Business poster right back there.
I see that.
Cedric Alexander, I think, is another one. Very underrated, very underlooked, but very, very fucking good.
That match with Kota Ibushi, it like got him a job, and he's figured out a way to ride that and be featured and successful, and that's not easy to do. He's made these opportunities himself.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to see more of him. I think he's very underutilized for how damn good he is, but I think Cedric's trying to be patient and hoping something happens, and he deserves it, man. He's great. But we'll talk about Infinity Beyond really quick, and then so Infinity Beyond, probably one of my favorite tag teams in all professional wrestling. Toy Story obviously was your favorite Disney movie.
So I'm a big Disney guy. The weird part is I'm a huge Disney fan. Like, I just got engaged at Disney this past year.
Congrats.
Thank you. We watch all the Disney stuff, like go to the movie, like when movies come out, we go like first week to see all this Disney stuff. I'm a huge Disney fan. Cheech, however, is not. Do you know who named this team? Cheech did.
Did he really?
I don't even know why. I literally don't know why, but he suggested it, and I said, yep, that sounds great. We just kind of started getting teamed together because I was in the Olsen twins, and he was in Up in Smoke with Cloudy, and we wound up wrestling each other a ton back in the day. And then Jimmy stopped wrestling, and Cloudy kind of stayed more local, but me and Cheech were the two who were still out there traveling. So we kind of just got paired up together at AEW, and it worked. And we were like, we don't really have anything else necessarily going on, so let's do it. And it's been fun. It's been, like I said, I love tag team wrestling. It's one of my favorite things to do. So, and being able to do it with a guy who, we naturally have chemistry together from wrestling each other for all those years. So it's easy. It literally, it doesn't feel, it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like difficult when you're doing it with someone who is on the same page all the time.
Oh yeah, and you could tell, man, you guys just have that natural chemistry. It's so fun to watch when you guys have matches together. Now I know you said that you're a big fan of tag team wrestling. Are you a bigger fan of tag team wrestling than singles wrestling?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
There's an old Mike Quackenbush thing. Like when a singles match, you only have 2 colors to paint with. But with a tag match, you have 4 colors. So imagine a painting with just 2 colors or with 4 colors. There's so much more you can do with 4 people as opposed to 2. And that, gets even better with 6 and 8 and whatever, or eventually it gets too many, but you know what I'm saying?
No, I get it for sure.
More colors to paint with.
Oh, for sure, man. And like I said, I mean, me genuinely, should say generally. Yeah, that's the word. I'm a big fan of tag team wrestling. Tag team wrestling is my favorite thing about professional wrestling. Just to see creative offenses that people do and the tag maneuvers and shit like that. Like in every wrestling video game, I always do tag matches. I never do one-on-ones, anything like it's always tag matches or fatal 4-ways or something like that. But tag matches are my number one. I always try to find the right look. And it's funny because you and Cheech are one of the only tag teams I've ever actually created in wrestling video games because I enjoy what you guys do. But yeah, man, I love tag wrestling. It's probably my favorite thing. It's the hardest thing to do with podcasting is interviewing tag teams.
I believe that.
Especially because you're like trying to direct a question and it's like, who do you choose first? But I love tag wrestling as it is, man. And to watch like the difference between like WWE's tag teams and AEW's tag teams, like WWE they don't do anything as much with tag teams anymore. Like the rumors about the Street Profits supposedly breaking up during the draft recently. I think that would have been a terrible decision. You got one of your best tag teams that you have, and you're going to talk about breaking them up. I don't think that's a great idea. But if you look at the stacked tag division AEW has, you have the Best Friends, the Lucha Brothers, you've got the Acclaimed, who you guys just wrestled not too long ago. The tag
Bear
division.
Country, Private Party,
Yep.
the Dark Order. You got Dos and Uno, or Stu and Uno, and then Silver and Reynolds, who are also incredible as a team. Like their tag division literally is stacked.
Oh, absolutely. And then you got Red Dragon that just added to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Then you throw Red Dragon in. It's like, come on.
And then you got your new tag team champions, Jungle Express. So it's
right.
Insane, dude. The whole tag division is nuts. Now, if there is one tag team that Infinity and Beyond has not wrestled yet that you would want to wrestle, who would it be?
I don't know.
Because I know you guys have wrestled a lot of those tag teams.
We have, we've had a couple real good ones with Private Party. We've had a couple real good ones with Bear Country, Silver and Reynolds for sure. We just had an incredible one with Stu Grayson and Evil Uno. I don't know. We've done Lucha Bros. I mean, I'd love to do Red Dragon. I'd love to wrestle Red Dragon for sure. I've known Bobby Fish since I was a kid. Bobby Fish used to sleep on my parents' floor when he'd come to town.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
I've known Bobby Fish forever. And Fish and Cheech actually trained together at Tony DeVito's school. They came up together. So it would be cool to wrestle them. I've wrestled the Best Friends, not with Cheech, but yeah, probably them. I mean, Jurassic Express is another one because I think Jungle Boy is a star and will be a star and is super crazy, unbelievable talented. So I'd like to wrestle them at some point for sure.
And it's so funny to see that because, you know, Luchasaurus was Judas Devlin in WWE. Yep. And to see, you know, WWE and even use him, they were just kind of like, see ya. And to see how much he's succeeding right now is incredible. Dude,
and he's a giant. Like the fact that WWE couldn't figure out anything to do with that 6'7" jacked up dude. Like, what are you talking about? I don't know. Even without the dinosaur Luchasaurus thing, like I look at the guy and I'm like, oh yeah, I could find something to do with him, right?
Yeah. It's sad, man. But hey, dude, Jungle Express, Infinity Beyond, AEW tag team titles.
Bring it on.
That'd be awesome. I would love it. Last question. What does 2022 look like to Colin Delaney?
I don't know. I think while we are in a better place in the world than we were in 2020 and probably even better than we were in 2021, we're still not back to full normal. So everything's still a little weird. I'm just going to keep doing what I do, staying active, staying out there, having fun. Hopefully have some more AEW appearances this year because I do enjoy that quite a bit.
Well, hopefully you get to get revenge against Sean Spears. That's what we need, right? Man. You got to bring that chair with you, you know.
After he hit me with that chair, it was like the next day when I was thinking about it, I was like, wait a second. That's the same dude who left me high and dry, and now he just hit me with a chair. What's going on?
He does not like Colin Delaney. I don't know what it is, man. I think it's because you had a longer tenure in ECW than he did.
maybe WWE ECW represent though. Yeah, maybe there's a little bit of that hanging over. There's a lot of WWE ECW in AEW.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot.
Spears, Punk, Archer,
Trent.
Yep. Me, of course, at times.
Dustin. You know, Goldust was there for a little bit.
Yeah, right.
So, right. I mean, dude, I think a lot of people shit on WWE's version of ECW, but it brought us a lot of people that I think we all grew to love. So
that's right.
I give credit
Mark
to
Henry.
Mark Henry.
Former champ.
Yep. That's his rise to fame, man.
My guy.
I think it was absolutely incredible, and it gave us Colin Delaney. So Absolutely. Colin, do you want to tell the fans where they can find you at on social media?
Sure. I'm on Twitter at extremely cute. I got on that Twitter game real early, so I got that sweet handle. By the way, the very first tweet on the WWE Twitter account is about me, ever in history.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's about Mark Henry beating me on ECW. That's the very first tweet.
Awesome.
If you look up very first WWE tweet. It's about me.
So cool.
At extremely cute on Twitter, at extremely Colin on Instagram. I'm not really a social media guy, but that's where you can find me. So if you so choose to, give a follow and yeah, I'm around.
Awesome. Colin, it's been such an honor to have you on here, man. This is such a dream come true for me.
Dude,
so I appreciate it. Absolutely. Guys, we'll be back on Wednesday with the prize, Alec Price, the Limitless Champion. I'm so fucking pumped for that one as well. This has been Colin Delaney. I'm Matt Kozakowski. I hope you guys enjoy.
See ya.